What's going on, guys? Looks like we have a functioning live feed. What is happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you are watching this. If you're new to the channel, thanks for got a mouth thing. I bit the hell out of my tongue and it's driving me nuts. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. This is my little slice of YouTube. It gives me an opportunity to hang out with you guys and interact with you directly, talk about videos that I put out, give you guys some behind the scenes, bikes that may be coming up for a riding review, and to chat about topics that sometimes just don't, I don't know, they just don't really make it to video. Just it's easier to talk about in a live format. It's gonna be kind of a short show tonight. Because I bit the living hell out of my tongue. I can barely talk. And so I got this weird lisp thing going on for a hot minute. So forgive that, if you please. RMAC is in, saying, so the Big Bore Kid is 2 days from being here for the Weiss Revlon. Very nice. That is oh hell, it's a, Continental GT, Royal Enfield. Boy, Bentley. It's not a Bentley. It's Continental GT. Very nice. Let me know how that goes. I'm looking forward to that. So the topic, it's kind of a weird topic. And the topic is, are leader bikes getting too soft? One of the things that dawned on me when I did the ride review on, well, it's been several bikes now, the CBR 1000 RR, CBR 1000 RR SP2, to a certain extent the R1, but not by as much. In fact, not by nearly as much. The Aprilia V4 Tuono is another bike, although not a fully fared leader bike. You get the idea where this is going. It's in the nannies. The problem is that with as much power as these bikes are making now, it makes it incredibly difficult to try to control all of that power, given the wheelbase of the machine. I mean, we're not talking about bike for bike. I'm not talking about, Yamaha versus Honda versus Kawasaki or whatever. I'm just talking about the dimensions of a vehicle given a certain amount of horsepower and a certain center of gravity. And the latest crop of these more predictive styles of rider aids, they have to be at a certain level intrusive. And the only one that isn't, let's all say it together now because you know it's coming, is the current GSXR 1000. And I know that there are a ton of folks out there that are very excited about the 2027 GSXR 1000. But I got to tell you, I am a little bit worried about that bike, because if the rider aids and all of that kind of stuff goes the same way as the Honda, and as, again, to a much lesser extent, the R1, but then to an equally annoying extent to the Aprilia, it's going to make that bike not quite as attractive. And so what I'm getting at is, if you haven't ridden a more modern leader bike, and take the GSXR 1000 out of the equation here, because it is so good with the rider aids and the throttle mapping and everything that comes with that bike, at least up to 2025. The other bikes, you can really feel those nannies intruding. You'll feel the bike surge. You'll feel the strange amount of lack of response out of the throttle, where you're giving the bike throttle, but there's no reaction. So a really bizarre disconnect there. You've got other bikes that are not even in the leader bike category. Famously, Yamaha's MT-09 R9 is part of this, where per gear, even in that power range, where you're rolling into the throttle and the throttle feels very numb in, or rolling the throttle, let's say in second gear, and it's super numb in second gear, but then third gear gives you all the power back. weird stuff like that. The problem that I see here is I think that we've hit a place with leader bikes now, and this is kind of where I was really trying to rack my brain around this, because I loved my 2025 GSXR 1000. The thing that I didn't like about it was how stiff the suspension was. And mainly that because I've got to go clear across town. I got to ride for about an hour before I get to where the riding's actually really good and I can actually uncork that thing. The stiffer suspension makes it much more, it makes it capable of doing leader bike stuff, top of fifth, top of sixth gear type things. But the problem is just in comfort. The bike would pretty much beat you half to death. The R1, on the other hand, didn't really give me that impression. Smoother engine, and it had better front end feel. But again, the nannies, they were kind of omnipresent, not nearly as bad as what they were with the Honda, but still there nonetheless. And so the more I started looking into these bikes, I thought, man, I'm hoping that the new GSXR 1000 doesn't take a page out of Honda's book and put out a bike that on paper looks amazing, but in execution ends up having the same type of issues that Honda does. And I can tell you this, I went into that Honda, went to the ride review of the CBR 1000 RR, literally looking to bring that bike home with me. And it was because of all the frustrating, weird throttle mapping and, everything that seemed to come with that bike, with the weird surging and, again, the per gear throttle mapping. It was really bizarre. I would love to take a look. And if you've got it, send it to me, a screenshot from like Woolwich, for example, of the stock throttle mapping for a CBR 1000 RR. Because it has got to look ridiculously stupid. And it's making me kind of really regret not buying that 2019 R1, because the funny thing about the R1 is that it never felt overwhelming. Like, it didn't feel like it was making the same power as the Suzuki. It just felt better in general. Like, the power delivery was better. I like the smoothness of the engine. I like the front end feel. But you don't have to make 190 horsepower at the flywheel to be a competitive and a good bike. And I think that because these manufacturers have kind of bitten off almost more than they can chew as far as just extracting the maximum amount of power that you can out of a 1 liter engine, that they've kind of lost the plot a little bit. And that is, these bikes are supposed to be fun to ride, engaging. They're supposed to be, entertaining. And yes, they are an advanced level machine, but I think that with all the nannies stepping in, you're actually taking this advanced level machine and you're turning it into an advanced trainer. And I talked about the GSXR 750 in that, or GSXR 600, I should say, in that respect, where, the GSXR 600 is a phenomenal bike. I love that bike, love riding it. And when I ride it, I feel like I can do anything on that bike. I feel like it is so easy to ride. Same with the 750, by the way. So I guess you could go really just whichever bike you like, just insert that into here. But you ride that thing and it's so good. And then I would ride one of the thousands and you can feel the nannies kicking in. And I'm like, damn, I'm faster on my middleweights than I am with my leader bike. That is not supposed to be like that at all. But the problem is, and I know where you're going with this. We'll just turn all the rider aids off. Hot shot. I mean, since you're such a, badass rider, which I'm not. Anybody that says that they are or thinks that they are, they're not, and they're not by a long shot. And I know that I'm not by a long shot. So the thing is when you have that much power, it's good and it's bad. And the problem is, it's not just the power. you're missing the plot of what I'm trying to get to. If that's where you're going to go with this, I did turn it all the way off on the CBR 1000. It wasn't the power of the thing. Keeping in mind, let me drag back the GSX-R 1000 into this. When you put that bike in A1 mode, it's like the traction control and all the rest of the crap's not even on. At least it is seamless. You can't even tell it's there. But so it's not the power. It's when you turn everything off, the throttle mapping still sucks. And all of that has to be addressed. And so the bigger the bike, the bigger the problems. You get into bikes like the Aprilia. You get into bikes like the RSV4, or even more famously, the Ducati V4 Panigale, whether it's the 1000 or 1100. Those bikes are notorious for power by committee. And yeah, you get on paper a very powerful motorcycle, but the downside is that the bike that you are looking at on paper simply will not perform unless it's been remapped, piped, and basically everything but the kitchen sink thrown at it to get it to act right. But let me check in with you guys real quick. RMAC was in first. DM is in. I got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. Checking in with Ryan. DM is. Torch saying leader bikes are so overkill for the road. So many kids on thousands now who are clueless is crazy. Leader bikes just a thing now. Kids associate with status. Maybe. The thing is that they're so good to ride, though. The problem that I have, you'll never hear me talk despairingly about a leader bike. Mainly because, and I've said this in other videos over and over and over and over again, one of the most adorable motorcycles to ride, one of the most endearing motorcycles to ride, one of the bikes that will make you feel like you are way better than you are, is a stock Japanese leader bike. Mainly because a stock Japanese leader bike, it doesn't matter which one it is hovering around that 165 horsepower at the rear tire range. It's just enough to be a leader bike fast, but it's not so much that you have to start employing all of these nannies to make the bike manageable. And I don't mean just manageable in a specific case. I mean just more manageable generically. Again, because so many of these bikes are ride-by-wire, there is a disconnect between your hand and the engine. But the GSX-R 1000 is ride-by-wire, even though it's cable-actuated rheostat, for lack of a better way of putting it, potentiometer technically. It's still ride-by-wire, but they got it figured out. And once you get that connection reestablished, it's pretty good. But again, tuning and everything else that has to take place there. And I guess that's why for me, all roads lead to Gixxer 750, right? That's why for me, the 750 is so good. I was out playing on that bike today, and it's like you cannot do any wrong with that bike. And yeah, you'll still get the, corner exit wheelies with it a little bit, and that's fun. But it gets the job done without any rider aids whatsoever. And it almost seems like the leader bikes have focused so much on power and technology that they've kind of lost, what it is and what makes riding these bikes so good. With the only two standouts being the R1 and the GSX-R 1000 in that group, but every other bike that I've ridden has been so intrusive with their nannies that it makes riding them kind of frustrating, I guess is the best way to put it. DM saying, yeah, leader bikes gain so much horsepower they had to numb them with electronics. Hence, you can feel it in your way. I think that made leader bikes less popular, and I would agree with that. It wasn't that long ago that, and you guys have heard me say this in videos before, where I'll say, look, back in my day, let me get my cane out. But, back in my day, back in, the early 2000s, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, You had GSXR 1000s. I mean, piped and tuned and really well breathed on were like 170, 175 to the rear tire. The walking around accepted big number was like 165. Anything above that was bananas crazy, right? Well, the thing is that the Gixxer 750 hadn't moved since then in terms of power. I mean, any generic exhaust on and either it was, like the Power Commander, or well, they didn't have really ECU tuning to the extent they have now. But you're looking at about 130-ish horsepower at the rear tire, kind of the same way it is now. And so it was kind of a progression. You'd have about 105 to 110 at the most out of a 600. You would have about 130, give or take, out of a 750, and then your leader bike would be 155, 160, maybe a little bit more than that. So it was kind of a percentage progression, but now it's not like that. And because the leader bike has just spread just so far away from the 750s in terms of the performance envelope, where now, let's be honest, I mean, leader bikes, if you're not putting down 180 at the rear tire, I mean, you kind of you'll get snubbed, won't you? So, you're talking, instead of a 30 horsepower difference, you're talking 50 horsepower difference between a leader bike and its middleweight little cousin, if you will. And for a lot of guys, that's just a bridge too far. Mainly though, because that extra, 10 or 15 horsepower at the bare minimum that you're getting out of these bikes now, that is just enough to upset the chassis. At some point, you're seeing the ship go over the horizon, right? And as you're watching this power ship move over the horizon, at some point, the mast dips below the horizon. And after that point, you have to have, I say you have to, you don't have to have the rider rates to ride the thing, but throttle mapping has to be flawless. Everything about that bike has to be predictable. And you've got to have the tire technology to be able to manage it. And by the way, as goes more power, as goes your tires. And any of these leader bikes have the capacity to chew through a set of tires on any given track day in a very convincing kind of way. So, you take that, scale it back a little bit for the street, and it'll still cook through a set of tires in a couple of thousand miles, if not less in some cases. So I guess for me, the leader bike category was a lot, I don't want to use the term better, but it just seemed to make more sense when the power spread was such that getting into a leader bike was there was a very predictable outcome when it came to power. And there wasn't this host of nannies that was getting in the way to soften what on paper is showing to be a much more powerful motorcycle. What it ends up doing is it chops the legs out from underneath it in the first 3 or 4 gears. And you've got this bike with what feels like a progressive displacement through the gears. And the thing is, you could actually do that and make the bike feel pretty good, but these manufacturers haven't figured out a way to do that yet. And again, with the oddly intrusive nature of these more predictive rider aid suites of technology, it really does make me concerned about how that GSXR 1000 is going to, how is it going to be like? What is it going to be like to ride that bike? Hopefully we'll see soon though, because little bird told me those bikes are supposed to be showing up sometime the tail end of this coming next month. So April, May, we might start seeing those things make it into dealerships. Let's see. Oh, let me scoot back up here and catch up with you guys. Ator saying people also think going fast in a straight line is cool. It takes zero talent, just twisting throttle and holding on. Take that to the track and see how fast you get checked doing that. Well, I will say this. I do prefer to be on the side of the tire on a bike. You guys have seen me ride, but you haven't seen me when I'm out and about. There's some stuff I don't know if I'm even good to show. I don't know. We'll see. One of these days, I'm going to take the camera rig out and see if I can get on some BNC roads and have some fun. But that's where I have the most fun. That's where I'm the most comfortable. I don't mind doing roll racing, provided the bike is stable at speed. It's actually can be kind of fun, but that is just a little, like, that's like 3 inches on a yardstick of what I like to do with a motorcycle. Armac saying, hey, I'm sorry, I was loading some 300 Win Mag. Very nice. Aitor saying, just bought a Triumph Bobber yesterday. Seeing your shirt. Yeah, that's awesome. Bobber's a cool looking bike, man. I do like the Bobber. Bobber with the, so the Bobber has the HT engine. It does have the best airbox out of all the Bonnevilles with the HT platform. Aitor saying my 01 GSX-R 1000 had 208 horsepower at the wheel with 0 electronics and ABS. Was awesome. That's a shitload of power out of that bike. DM saying, Ryan, no worries. I got a build to do on a 300. Very nice. Captain saying, just want them to build 600 that look as good as leader bikes. All companies and car manufacturers included make you spend more money on their good looking machines, to the point you made earlier about looks. I tell you what, I don't know why. I do know why. So Suzuki won't update their middleweights because they sell every one of them that they have made in any given year, and nobody that's buying them asks for changes. And the problem is, okay, here's the thing with Suzuki. You could go to Suzuki and say, hey, I can guarantee you a 50% increase in sales of your middleweights. And Suzuki would probably respond with, if you update them and do all this other stuff. And in a recent video, I was even talking about that. Like, you've got the technology, shrink it down. You don't even have to change anything. Like, you don't have to develop anything. And that video is basically, why hasn't the GSX-R 750 been updated? And the reason why they don't, and the reason why they won't, is because everybody that buys them because of what they are as they are now. Same way with the Hayabusa, by the way. I'm shocked that they even made that bike Euro 5 compliant of all the bikes, right? But same thing. They don't take that bike to a different place. I don't really like the phrase another level because that's not definable, but they don't change them off of what they are now, because everybody that buys them literally goes looking for that thing. And if it's a basic thing and they're selling every one of them that they make, they don't really care. That machine that makes that bike was bought and paid for a long time ago. These things are pure profit now. So, from an industry standpoint, from a profitability standpoint, these things are cash cows. And, now they don't have any technology, but I mean, nobody that's buying them is looking for it. I've said this before. I speculated on this. I thought, what would happen with, MotoGP going to 850 cc's? Could you imagine? And Yamaha would probably, I would love to see Yamaha do this. If Yamaha did this, I would pay over sticker for this bike. Assuming that it wasn't the size of the R9, which is gigantic. If you took the R1, which is kind of a smaller bike by leader bike standards, take the R1, and instead of 1,000 cc's, make an 850 cc CP4. Lower rotating mass, have that bike somewhere in the 165, 170 at the flywheel. And it would be light, right? It would be light like the CBR 1000. That would be the crazy bike for me, because then it's like having a fully built, prepped, and set up GSXR 750 with all of the goodies, right? And you could turn them all off because you don't, I mean, the power is not going to overwhelm anything, any of these new super sport tires anyway. And you could go out and have a ball with that thing. So there's certain things that, you know, oh, if I only ruled the world type of a situation, that if they came up, yeah, maybe. But again, the 750s, getting back to the Gixxers, they're never going to update that because they don't need it. They don't have to from a business standpoint. But they feel compelled to keep upping the ante with these leader bikes and not bringing the middleweights along for the ride. And I think that's really where people end up getting frustrated, and because they see all of these technologies going only to the leader bikes and to the super middleweights like the R9, the RCR 990, V2 Panigale. And guys will look at that and go, yeah, it's a nice bike, but do you really need it all there too? So to have a high performance, true, honest to God super sport, bigger displacement, Euro 5 compliant, has the goodies, has the power to go along with it, might be the next evolution to that class. But it's funny because all the technology that they're baking into the thousands that people think they want in a middleweight, it's not necessary in the middleweight, where it's necessary in the leader bike because it is making so much more power at the rear tire. Oh, hang on a second. Let me check back in with you guys. Oh, RMAX, talk about the 300. Say, I love mine. It's not a custom build, just a Browning Pro. I mean, I need to get to the range. Caps is saying, if Triumph made a fully faired 765 or give me the GSXR 600 with a Fireblade body, I get it. I get it. Just a rebody might be exactly what the doctor ordered for those bikes. But yeah, Triumph, seriously. Oh, of anybody that's screwing this all up, it's Triumph. And I'm wearing this shirt. I love Triumph motorcycles. I really do. I've got 2 of them. I dig them. But the problem is that you'll never see me buy another Triumph until they put a full fairing on a 765 on the RX, by the way. And then maybe I'm a player. But until then, nah. The 765 is that good of a bike. I mean, it deserves the sport bike treatment. RMAX saying, I think my CF Moto 675 looks as good as most leader bikes to me. Yeah, it does. And it's got more technology than some of them too. Suzuki, I'm looking at you. DM saying the R7 is beautiful, but that's it. Yamaha needs the B Mason recipe. I tell you what, could you imagine the R7? So we were up at Wild West Yamaha, and I was looking at the R7. It's the one with all the real, like, very vibrant livery, real pretty bike. And I was talking to Orange Crush and to another friend of ours. What's up, Jared? We're talking about that bike, and I was going, dude, could you imagine R7, but with a 700cc or 800cc or something like that, 3/4 liter adjacent, 4-cylinder CP4. Holy cow. I mean, that bike is so good looking as it is, but damn, is it down on power by middleweight standards, right? Just Yamaha, just do it. I mean, don't, yeah, it's all right there. Like, you've got everything there. I mean, I'm spotting you the bread, the ham, and the mustard, dude. Just make this sandwich. Can you please? Ator said, I was about to buy a 40th anniversary 750 and went to a 2026 Triumph Bobber. I am trading speed for style. I need to chill for a bit and not be looking over my shoulder all the time, which I completely understand. A lot of guys do that, by the way. Um, it for a lot of folks, you do end up trading speed for style, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. I get it. Um, RMAX hanging out with DM about the 675. It's a good looking bike in person. Couch saying, in my opinion, the R6 is it is gone. The GSXR, my bike that I love, just need a fairing update. Honda, the same. Kawasaki might explode, but it looks amazing. I think all leader bikes look better, but it's subjective, which it is. Here's the thing with the 636. The 636 is an awesome bike. I just personally don't fit it. Or, the way that the bike is set up just doesn't fit me. I mean, I can make it work. But, and I was talking to Orange Crush about this today too. I don't know if it's all my years of riding an RC51, but I am weirdly programmed to bikes that have either a ton of front end feel or are heavier to steer. And with one minor, I do like the CBR 1000 or CBR 600 is a little bit on the heavier side. Also a little bit heavier than I prefer, but it's still in that same range, right? Where the 636 just felt very mass centric. I don't know, but it's an awesome bike, and I still hold it in the highest regards, even though I don't have mine anymore. Let's see. Oh, Capsy, I forgot about CF Moto, just hesitant because it's still building a history. Here's the funny thing about CF Moto. They have been huge in the side-by-side arena for years and years and years and years and years. And they got into making motorcycles, and weirdly enough, of any of the manufacturers building bikes that are riding around on two wheels at least, CF Moto has very low claims rates. So it's something to consider. If you like the way it looks, don't worry about buying one, because they don't have a lot of warranty issues at all. Let's see. Cody's saying, don't get yourself in trouble. Saying that 40 to 750 is cool, but it desperately needs a facelift, quick shifter, and new instrument cluster, and get rid of the headlight. I tell you what, and I've said this a ton of times, some bikes don't take well to quick shifters. And I think that the Gixxer middleweights could kind of fall into that range. Although I will say this, it is because of my 636 and all the issues that I had with the quick shifter with that bike that I started to grow a little bit. I quit liking quick shifters as much. So for me, if the bike has that feature, I'll probably just turn it off, because part of me gets a little bit jaded with quick shifters, I suppose. But I don't know. I'm so used to riding without one that I kind of prefer to not have one. Mr. Wixon saying price is 17,500 pounds, which may be over here 20,000 in price. That's for the R model. This is the price he's talking about. Which is correct. Although a lot of times that exchange rate doesn't quite play out because of logistics costs. My guess is that the standard bike is going to be somewhere in the high 16, low 17 range. But the R model, it's probably going to be in that $18,500 to $19,000, which, it still puts you close enough to 20 grand to call it. DM saying, I have not seen a 675 in person, but they do look good in pictures, which they do. Let's see. Oh, Patty's saying not updated because they are not very profitable and they lack the coin. The thing is that, and this is just me talking to the rep, they have literally run the books on this. And if it was worth it to do it, they would. But again, it is just, how do I say, it is a cash cow for that company. They sell every one of the middleweights that they make, and everybody that buys them likes them because they are what they are. Now, I will say this, at some point that buying public goes away, and you got to start building super sports for a younger, newer, more technologically freaking mosquito. Here it comes again. If you guys see me end up throwing combos over here, it's because that damn mosquito's jacking with me. But they keep selling what they're making, and they just don't see a reason to. They put pen to paper and, like, look, we could sell more, but would we make more? I don't know. And they seem to be happy just making bikes for people that want that particular bike. Tori saying, I feel more mature buying a bobber, which I get that. Oh, DM saying the Gixxer 750 is making about the same horsepower as Golden Era sport bikes. That exactly, yeah. It's the closest thing right now, which is largely why I love it. Same thing. I mean, the thing about the 750, and it is just evolved into what it is. It is making very similar horsepower to all of the Golden Era legend 900cc bikes. CBR 900, CBR 929, CBR 954 immediately come to mind. Those are bikes that, that by today's standard didn't make anywhere near leader class bike power of today, nor did they make anywhere near leader class bike power of, the mid 2000s. But the formula was lightweight, very responsive engines making between 130 and 140 horsepower at the rear tire with a little bit of massaging. Somewhere in that range is the sweet spot. And, that 400 to 430 pounds wet weight with 130, really 125 to 130 to 135, 140 odd horsepower at the rear tire. That's where things are said to be perfect when it comes to sport bikes. And the further you go to the more power side, the more rowdy the bike gets, and the more of a handful the bike gets, and the more you are throttling that bike to rein it in. And much less than that, unless we're talking about 600 super sports, which you get gearing to go along with your horsepower there. But a whole lot less than that, without the gearing or the capability to have the gearing to go with it, is you're going to have to be wringing its neck to get any real power out of it. So that leader bike, that 750 to 950 cc power is really what we're lacking with these latest bikes. And that's why I think that if, we can evolve past some of this Euro 5 stuff with the twins and on triples and get back into a zone that makes a bit more sense, I think that would you'd start selling bikes that people can actually ride. But all that being said, man, you can't sell. How are you going to sell that bike in the same lobby, in the same breath as a leader bike? And the other thing, and this is something that, I was trying to say in a video that I'd put together, is it doesn't cost any more to make a leader bike than it does a 750. Like, technology for technology, right? Still has 4 cylinders, still has a frame, tire, all the stuff, but you can charge more for the leader bike. And that's kind of where we're at now. Again, with middleweights, the profit is in not putting a bespoke engine into your middleweight. Chassis is great, brakes are great, electronics are great, but they're Yamaha, KTM, these are all, and Ducati, the engine that's in their new gen or next gen super sports, these are all engines that are cross-pollinated from other bikes with other mission statements. You know, you've got like the Tracer 9, the MTO 9, the XSR 900. They all have the MTO 3 engine along with the R9, right? Vastly different bikes with completely different things that they're trying to do with an engine that has the exact same horsepower output, same tuning, everything. KTM to a lesser extent, it's the Duke 990 and the RCR. And then you have the V2 Panigale with its new V-twin that's powering, you know, every other bike that's going to be in that same category. Same idea. See what I'm saying? So it's not, none of these bikes are performance engine powered. They just have a lot of really good performance components on there that have a power plant that will get you down the road with enough power to be entertaining and useful, with a technology package that'll get you out of trouble if you did get yourself into trouble with a bike like that. So anyway, getting back to it, let me check in with you guys. Oh, Cody said, I've never understood the cruiser versus sport bike crowd. They're both awesome. Most of us have both. I mean, I never could understand it either, because it's literally like, you know, arguing over, I like strawberry ice cream, I like chocolate ice cream. Yeah. Funny thing is you can buy them both and put them in your freezer. You know, you can have one or the other or both, or mix them together. Who knows? Yes, that's the Diavel for you, right? From Ducati. Anyway, you get the idea. Patty's saying sales for Suzuki sport bikes are trailing badly. Well, they're not doing so bad on the middleweight side. I can tell you that. And depending on what you call sport bikes, the GSX 8R seems to be doing pretty well, although it's kind of difficult to call that a sport bike, but it is a sport bike. So they seem to be doing at least okay with what they've got now. Sales for sport bikes in general are not doing so hot, though. The CBR 600, which, I mean, hasn't been updated since 2013, continues to struggle a little bit because it and the rest of his brethren are under a recall notice. There aren't any other bikes out there outside of the CF Moto, and CF Moto seems to be doing pretty good with their 675. The problem with the R9 not selling well is because Yamaha just doesn't make enough of them. Every dealership that I've talked to has an extremely limited allocation with those bikes. And so that's why that bike isn't selling well. And the ZX6R, the 636, let me tell you how well that bike sells. That bike sells on a level that is almost, it would sound made up. How many of the 636 are still selling even with that recall issue. A lot of guys like those bikes, and Kawasaki makes a ton of them and they sell a ton of them. So I would say, though, you are correct in that in some areas, sport bikes just are not what they used to be. But I don't know. At some point, Suzuki is going to have to update the GSX-R 750. I wouldn't get rid of mine to get one of those. I would just get one. But I can tell you this, I'd probably be the first in line to get one. But the rest of the crowd, I don't know. Captain saying that R1 to 840cc CP4 with CBR 1K weight is gold. Could you imagine? Oh my God. 430 pounds with about 160 horsepower. Why can't you do it? And have it be the size of the CBR too. I mean, well, the R1's still kind of a small bike too. By, you know, it rides small. I'll put it to you that way. This is why the CBR 1K is on my list. And in fact, just bring the new CBR 600 to the States, which is, you could do that too. Oh, Patty's saying, not the cost of the bike, the insurance cost. Yeah, I was doing some insurance checking on a new leader bike. It ain't cheap, believe me. Jeff's in saying took delivery of his red R9 anniversary today, but 45 degrees, so first ride tomorrow. Bundle up, man. Let me know how it goes. I'm jealous. That's the bike to get. If you're going to get an R9, that's the one to get. Couch saying I test rode the R9. It seemed nice. Wish the winglets were optional. It was cold during the demo. Just need more time in the saddle. Hope you enjoy it. My friend has it. My friend has it and loves it. I want to ride one so bad I can't see straight. And I keep saying that, look, an R9 with a tune, with or without exhaust, I understand the need for a tune on that bike because of the nannies with the electronic throttle in first and second gear. I rode the XSR 900, which I dearly loved. I would love to ride an R9 with a tune, just because spiritually speaking, it's the same. It is or would be equivalent to my dad's Daytona by today's standards, right? And I love my dad's bike. And so, if I love dad's bike, why wouldn't I love the R9? It's kind of the same thing, same power, same whatever. There's a lot that's the same between those bikes. But again, getting back to it, Yamaha it's hard to find them in many cases. Certain markets, it's not, but at least in my market, it is exceptionally difficult to locate one, much less a dealer that'll let you actually ride the thing. Patty's saying they don't make many at Suzuki. Their cars failed. Their cars aren't all that great. And their business is not great with outboards. That's an area where I'm surprised they didn't do better, is on the marine division. Armax saying CF Moto is putting a lot of companies on notice with their bikes and prices. I think the reliability will come to light soon, but you never hear anything bad about them. And you won't. You never will hear anything bad about them. Again, their background with side-by-sides, I mean, it's got a lot of folks liking them. There's a lot of folks that enjoy their side-by-sides to a point where, again, the dealerships that talk about that product segment are saying, yeah, they're actually pretty good. So, again, so far, nobody's really been complaining about CF Moto. Couch is saying all they need in this area is an influencer to promote it for them to take off. That's the way of the world now. I imagine their aftermarket is improving. Yeah. Talking about CF Moto. CF Moto is doing really well. And everybody that I know of that has them, whether it's the 450, which I kind of freaking liked. Like, look, I'm not into the small displacement. Like, it's not just that bike. I'm not going to say I'm not into it. It's just that, it's those bikes are known as kind of 3-monthers, where if you have background in motorcycling and you're on one of those small displacement bikes, you're not going to have it for very long. Or if you do, you're literally using it as an in-town, like, errand running type bike. But that being said, the 450 surprised me. And, bikes like anything that's, the 400s from Triumph, which I have proven will go 100 miles an hour. It'll take you a minute to get there, but the 450, you get there no problem. I guess where I'm going with this is, that whole segment that CF Moto has sold into, whether it's the 450, the 675, or anything else they put out there, is going to put a lot of manufacturers on notice because, no, it's not the most powerful. Doesn't have to be. Okay. It's got all the technology. What seems like a lot of built-in over engineering. They don't make the most power, but they do seem to be pretty durable, at least as far as I know. But really, more to that point, they also seem to they seem to listen to their customers, and they make bikes for, they try to follow at least the trends that their customers are trying to I don't know, incorporate them into. Is that the right way to put it? I don't think I'm putting that the right way. Anyway, they listen to their customers and they build bikes and they make running line changes based on what the customers like and what the feedback is that they're getting. Wick saying, why does everyone think it's a 26 when it's a 27 Gixxer 1000R? Because it was originally listed as a 26, and a lot of folks still call it the 26 as we were supposed to get it in 26, and then they bumped it to 27. But yeah, it's a 27. Matter of fact, it was my understanding we were supposed to see that bike as early as August or September of last year, and that didn't work out, but it was supposed to be a 26. Patty's saying insurance is killing sport bikes. It can, especially depending on your age. Patty's saying yes and no, people need to stop watching YouTubers and ride better and stop wrecking because it hurts everyone who rides East Coast or West Coast. My thing is practice the fundamentals. I think one of the biggest things that that hurts anybody in their motorcycle journey is that they forget to practice, one, but more to the take the practice part out. They forget to play. They forget that practice can be play. And I need to see, I got to figure out a way to do this and get over to Stubbs. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I need to go over the MSF course and just kind of ride you guys through, like, not an MSF class, but just, you know, we're going to do acceleration brakes, acceleration brake, acceleration brake, acceleration braking, trail braking now. Okay. Braking as we are turning. Harder on the brakes, let off as you are turning. It's called trail braking. Hear about it all the time. Looking through the turn, looking at what you're looking at, where you want to be, all of that kind of stuff. I feel like I want to try to do that. I don't want to turn it into like a real lecture-y type of thing, though. That's why I don't want to go, you know, counter steer and all this other. I hate that. Like you could not imagine. Just because that's not how I was taught to ride. I mean, you ride the bike, right? Like, but you're not thinking about what you're doing. You just kind of are doing it. But there's practice that you've got to put yourself through. And anyway, I'm trying to figure out a way to do that, maybe incorporate that. Patty's saying 73 24 ZX10R clean license, credit score 875 out of 900, own a house, clear, maximum coverage with all offerings available is $2,500 a year with Progressive. Damn, that's a lot. First year with Geico is $2,500. Then they wanted $3,600 with no changes on my end. 50 plus years in riding. Holy crap. I rock State Farm and they're nowhere near that bad. Patty's saying CF motos are cheap and that's what people like. You know, cheap. Yes. But maybe appropriately priced might be the other way to look at it too. Because, man, some of these bikes are obnoxiously expensive based on what you're getting. Wick saying I'm 55 and pay $1,300 for a year with Geico max coverage for the motorcycle. Oh, Cody's saying the Squid Bros aren't beating the allegations. No, I don't think they are. A lot of the guys are doing a lot of real crazy stuff. That's why I don't really like showing, you know, you're not going to see me doing like super crazy stuff on the bike because number one, I don't ride like that. I just get out and have fun and play with the thing. But the other thing is I don't want to be the guy that's going, hey, do this on the street. It's not a good look. Armac saying, yeah, the CFs they're inexpensive, but not cheap. I say appropriately priced. Like to see the V4. Me too. Yeah, same. Been dreaming of their four banger. I tell you what, let me explain. That 750 hits. And I've been saying this since they started showing that bike running around. It's what is it? 110, 115 horsepower, whatever it is. It is going to run very similar to how the GSX S750 ran. And that was one of the absolute best middleweight nakeds that I have ever ridden. It's a shame that Suzuki doesn't make that bike anymore, because I think it's an amazing bike. I loved riding that bike. Patty saying insurance depends on your location and coverage. Saying full coverage doesn't really mean anything. Full coverage for me is I have all coverages, and he's pinned on his limits. So that's, yeah, that would make sense. I mean, it depends on where you're at, your age, and how much your coverage is going to be. Oh yeah, Long Island. Holy crap! Yeah, you've got the highest insurance rates I think you can come up with. Oh, Patty's saying most YouTube bikers have to go do all out stuff to, you know, beat each other for views. You know, I've never really, even from way back when I was doing all the car stuff, I just kind of stayed in my lane and do my own thing, man. I did never want to get caught up. There's a lot of YouTube drama you can get caught up as a creator. If you even want to call me that, that's pretty optimistic, pretty bold. But anyway, I never really got too caught up in a lot of the back and forth. I know people that did. Anyway, I never did get caught up in a lot of that. Came close, but I never got caught up in it. Cody's saying Kawai should update the Ninja 650. Totally agree with that. I also think that Kawasaki, if they were wise, they'd listen to their Uncle Cyclemoto over here, put a full fairing on the Z900 and put a set of clip-ons on that thing and send it out into the world. By the way, put a good suspension on it. I'm going to say something, and I mean this when I say it. The first bike that I had on this channel was my dad's bike. The second bike was my Z900 RS Cafe. And I'm going to say something about that bike. It needed more power. It really did. But I got it to where I was riding the wheels off of it, but the suspension was the thing that hurt it the most. The new bike, Z900 RS Cafe, is a damn good looking bike, but it's got basically the Z900 engine in it. It's making about that kind of power anyway. And with a different shock on that bike, I could see that thing being a whole lot of fun. Anyway, had a kind of a reunion with not my bike, but the cafe at a dealership, and got to looking at it, was thinking, damn, that's a good looking bike. Oh, Wix, Z900 is an amazing bike. It really is. And it is humongous seller for Kawasaki overseas too. Like a big seller for those guys overseas. A lot of folks love those bikes. India is a big market for that bike. Patty's saying some guy bought a new ZX10R this year. Young guy, his insurance with collision was like $7 or $8 grand a year. Holy cow. Yeah, that's a lot of dough for insurance, no doubt about it. Way more than I'd want to spend, way more than I could spend. But we're coming up on about an hour. So updates. Let me give you guys updates as far as what's going on behind the wall, so to speak. The ECU is on its way back for more Mafia for the GSX-R 600. So that should show up here, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, which will allow me to start putting the bike back together, put the tank back on, and basically sort it out, get it ready so that when the exhaust shows up, it's M4 Tech 1 Carbon, which should be showing up where, if I am lucky, which I'm rarely that, sometime around the middle of next month. It looks like that exhaust should be making it in. Be on the lookout for that. Definitely looking forward to getting that bike on the road. Check out the video if you haven't seen it. I did anyway, back to the 600. I'm going to try to do, I didn't do a disassembly video, but I'm going to try to do maybe a reassembly video. We'll see how that goes. Every time I try to do this, I screw it up somehow with the videography of it. I'm going to try to do it this time, or I will maybe bring you guys along for the ride as I've got certain segments done. I maybe do it maybe in segments that might be a little bit easier to digest. So again, be on the lookout for that GSXR 600 content coming your way. Can't wait to. I love 600 is awesome to ride, and it's going to be even better with about another 10 horsepower. Speaking about more horsepower, the GSXR 750, I just did a video on that. Why hasn't Suzuki updated that bike? I didn't get too deep into history on that one. That was a video that I had a real hard time putting together because I kept screwing it up. This is on me. So again, behind the scenes, when you're trying to put together videos, you guys know, or maybe you don't know, I don't do any editing outside of just boop, pause editing. That's it. There are times where I'll have to go in and maybe blur something, but I don't do anything outside of pause editing. So what you're seeing is me talking and writing in real time, and this is just what's happening. So let me tell you what happened. I was starting out the video, and it would start out strong, and then I would just wander off into the history of GSXR 750 and where it fit into the whole grand scheme of things from a historical point of view, why it is that manufacturers don't make that bike anymore. And by the time it was all said and done, hell, even I was sick of hearing me talking about it. So I took a little bit different tact for the video that I put out today, and it's just talking about, you know, why Suzuki won't update it. It's kind of a play on words with the title too. So why won't Suzuki update the 750? And it's almost like, you know, they won't because they don't have to, but what would you be losing if they did, in a way? Anyway, that's a kind of a not very good way to summarize that video, but you get the idea. But believe me when I tell you guys, it was way worse. If you don't like the one that I did, if you're like, that video sucks, listen, it sucked so much harder or worser, you get the idea. It was bad because I did it. I didn't even do it once or twice. I botched it up 4 different times. I botched it up a lot of times because it's like I would get started in just in perfect me mode. I would just like meander off. I'd completely lose the plot of what I'm trying to talk about, and it would just get to the point where it was unwatchable, and I would never get to a point kind of like what's happening now. Anyway, so that's that's that bike. And what else? Oh, I am going to be doing, there's going to be another video that you may see pop up, and it's going to be just a trip around our normal loop, talking about the Michelin Power 6 tires and how they compare to the Bridgestone S23s. I'm going to be focusing and kind of driving down on what makes them different. And if you've got a sport bike and you're going to be putting new tires on your bike, what could you expect going to S23s, S22s versus the Michelin Power 6s? So be on the lookout for that one. At some point, it's going to make it to the party. But I'm going to check in with you guys. Oh, Captain's liking Chris. I tell you what, I know Chris is really, really busy nowadays. I've had quite a few phone conversations with him. I mean, he's knowledgeable as hell. I will say this, his throttle mapping is the best in the business. I mean, the power that the bikes make, yeah, all of them make good power, but his throttle mapping is really good. Cody Lee's checking out. Peace and love, my friend. So he's saying, advice, guys, 2020 Suzuki GSXR 750, 5,000 miles, thinking of getting the bike, $8,000. Should I? It's actually a good price on that bike if it's clean. If you're buying it from a dealership, has it always been serviced or has it ever been serviced out of that dealership? That's what you need to know. But outside of that, if it's been taken care of, 8,000 miles ain't shit on a Gixxer. I can promise you that. Plenty of them in have been traded back and forth with 25, 35, 45,000 miles. So don't sweat that. As long as they are well kept and maintained, and you've got a list like I mean, you won't ever see a list like I have on my 600, but you get the idea. Oh, Patty's saying I had a Z1 900 modified engine, 1013 Cafe Racer, full fairing in 75, hit 158, which is screaming on that bike. If you're not familiar with what he's talking about, it's basically like he's saying he went 158 miles an hour in a shopping cart, in a trolley, basically. That's crazy. My dad had that exact bike. That's what my dad used to street race with him and his boys back when I was a kid. Offer him less and it needs some TLC and maintenance done. And if that's the case, yeah, definitely, bike condition is specific on that. Oh, Patty's saying I might buy a new K9 and just put Clubman's on it. That would be a sick bike. Throwing Clubman's on that would be awesome. Oh, so he's saying he dropped it to 8,000. If he dropped it, 8,000 is a fair market price. 9,200 would be too much for it. Midwick saying I would buy it. I'd probably buy it too at that number. And make sure it has a clean title. Yes. Hey, saying Orient Express was my friend. Jack O'Malley. Nice. Oh, Patty's asking warranty on the bike. No, there won't be a warranty on it. Not unless he gets an agreement from, if it's a dealership. Sometimes he can get a dealership to sign off on a bike, but it's rare to get a true warranty. And so he's saying, yeah, I'm not sure about the warranty. I promise you don't have one. I wouldn't warrant it. I would say, if it's got a solid history on it, then you can only give it a clean bill of health, but that's about the best you can do. Yeah, private seller. Yeah, that's about the best you can hope for is that. But with that, guys, I do have to wrap it up. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me. Would not do this without you. Sorry if I'm sounding kind of weird. I bit the living crap out of my tongue. So I'm over here talking like this all night. So I apologize for that. Hopefully the next couple of weeks, my face will heal up and I won't, talk weird or weirder or you get the idea. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. But with that, guys, I'm going to check out. You guys take it easy.